Constantinople, known today as Istanbul, stands as a monumental testament to imperial vision and strategic foresight. For over 16 centuries, it served as the capital for successive empires, the Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman, a longevity unparalleled in the annals of urban history. Its establishment by Emperor Constantine, in 330 CE, marked a truly pivotal moment, fundamentally reorienting the geopolitical, cultural, and religious axis of the Roman Empire eastward, and laying the indelible groundwork for the enduring Byzantine Empire. This report delves into the intricate narrative of Constantinople's genesis, tracing its ancient roots as Byzantian through its monumental transformation under Constantine. It will explore the multifaceted motivations behind its establishment, detail its early urban development, and examine its profound, long-term impact on the trajectory of European and Middle Eastern history, drawing extensively from available historical accounts. The city's unique geographical placement at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, straddling the Bosporus Strait, bestowed upon it unparalleled strategic and economic advantages, effectively positioning it as a vital bridge between continents, cultures, and civilizations. This inherent geographical reality profoundly shaped its destiny, enabling it to flourish as a global hub for trade, culture, and power for more than a millennium. The consistent emphasis in historical records on Byzantium's inherent geographical advantages, its control over the Bosporus, the natural harbor of the Golden Horn, and its defensible topography, highlights that the city's eventual imperial prominence was, in a sense, preordained by its physical attributes. Constantine's transformative vision and unprecedented investment amplified an already established strategic value, rather than creating it from scratch. This perspective suggests that while the emperor's actions were decisive, he was recognizing and fully realizing the latent potential of a site whose destiny as a major imperial center was deeply rooted in its geography. To Byzantium, the strategic canvas, ancient origins, and early history. Before its imperial metamorphosis, Constantinople was known as Byzantium, an ancient Greek settlement founded in the 7th century BCE, specifically in 657 BCE by Megarian colonists. Popular legends attribute its founding to a mythical Megarian king named Byzas, from whom the city derived its original name. Byzantium's early history was marked by its strategic importance, leading to its incorporation into the Achaemenid Empire around 513 BCE during Darius I's Scythian campaign, which granted the Persians control over valuable ports. It also played a significant role in the Peloponnesian War, with the Spartans seizing control by 411 BCE. Pre-Constantinian strategic advantages and existing infrastructure. Even prior to Constantine's intervention, Byzantium's location was widely acknowledged for its immense strategic value. particularly its command over the crucial sea passage connecting the Black Sea to the Aegean. The Roman Emperor Septimius Severus, in the 3rd century CE, had already recognized this importance. After destroying the city during a siege, he almost immediately repented and undertook a significant rebuilding effort on a splendid scale, initiating the construction of the Hippodrome, which would later become a central feature of Constantinople. This demonstrates that imperial attention and investment were already drawn to this site, and that a foundational, albeit limited, Roman infrastructure was already in place. The city possessed a small wall that enclosed its acropolis, featuring at least 2 landward gates, alongside a much lower seaward wall. Furthermore, coastal roads along the Sea of Marmara and the Golden Horn likely predated Constantinople's formal founding, providing a basic network that would serve as a foundation for future urban expansion. The historical account of Septimius Severus's actions, destroying Byzantium, only to rebuild it almost immediately on a grander scale, reveals a pattern where periods of devastation could paradoxically act as catalysts for more ambitious and planned reconstruction. This recurring theme, evident again with Justinian's rebuilding of Hagia Sophia after the Nika revolt, underscores a remarkable resilience embedded within the city's very fabric and a consistent imperial commitment to its grandeur and strategic importance, even in the face of ruin. 3. Constantine's calculated choice. Motivations for a new capital. Constantine's decision to establish a new capital at Byzantium was a profoundly calculated move, driven by a complex interplay of strategic, economic, and political considerations. Strategic imperatives. Geographically, Byzantium was exceptionally well positioned astride the trade routes between East and West. Its location at the crossroads of Europe and Asia allowed it to control the vital Bosporus Strait, which connected the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. The city also boasted formidable natural defenses, being surrounded by water on 3 sides: the Sea of Marmara, the Bosporus, and the Golden Horn, rendering it inherently defensible against both naval and land-based assaults. The Golden Horn, a long, sheltered estuary, provided a naturally protected port capable of accommodating hundreds, even thousands of ships, further enhancing its defensive capabilities. Militarily, this location was ideal for defending the empire from invasions, particularly from the eastern frontiers, which faced persistent threats from Persia, Goths, and Huns. It also served as an excellent base from which to guard the Danube River frontier, enabling swift and decisive actions against various threats. The city's proximity to the wealthier and more populated eastern provinces, where much of the Roman Empire's military focus lay during Constantine's reign, was a crucial strategic advantage. Economic vision. Constantine clearly recognized Byzantium's immense potential as a thriving commercial hub. Its strategic position allowed it to dominate the passage of goods between Europe and Asia, including those traversing the famous Silk Road. Control over these lucrative trade routes translated into significant economic benefits for the empire, enabling it to impose taxes on the vast quantities of goods flowing through the city, and thereby substantially boosting its treasury. Additionally, the Bosporus was renowned for its abundant fish resources, as noted by the Greek historian Strabo, providing another economic boon for Byzantium. Beyond its geographical advantages, Constantine further bolstered the empire's economic stability by introducing the gold, solidus, a new, highly prized and stable currency that would remain a standard for over 1,000 years. Political ambition. Constantine sought a fresh start for the Roman Empire, acknowledging the shifting power dynamics from the declining and depopulated West to the more prosperous cities of the East. The establishment of a new imperial residence at Byzantium unequivocally signaled a deliberate shift in the center of imperial power. He initially renamed it Nova Roma, New Rome, to underscore its status as a new capital, consciously modeling it in part after the venerable old capital. Politically, Constantine fundamentally altered the imperial succession by replacing Diocletian's tetrarchy with the dynastic principle of hereditary succession, thereby solidifying his political legacy by entrusting the empire to his sons. The new capital was integral to this vision of a unified yet re-centered empire. The explicit naming of the new capital as Nova Roma clearly conveyed a powerful desire for continuity with the glorious Roman past, and a direct challenge to the old capital's long-held primacy. This act of naming was a deliberate symbolic link. However, the underlying drivers for this monumental move, the strategic shift of imperial power to the wealthier and more populous East, the unparalleled strategic advantages that Rome itself lacked, and a conscious move away from the entrenched pagan traditions of the old capital towards a more Christian-sympathetic environment, simultaneously represented a profound rupture. The new Rome was therefore not merely a replica, but an evolution, reflecting the changing geopolitical, economic, and religious realities of the empire. This dual nature emulating Rome while fundamentally transforming its character and priorities is a central, fascinating aspect of the Byzantine Empire's identity. It was Roman, but a distinctly new kind of Roman, adapted for a new era. Religious and personal factors. Constantine, as the first Roman emperor to claim conversion to Christianity and legalize it, played an immensely influential role in its development as the empire's dominant religion. He provided substantial financial support to the church, oversaw the construction of basilicas, and promoted Christians to high office. While some scholars, such as Crothamer, contend that Constantine intended Constantinople to be a Christian capital, others, like Dagron, emphasize more dynastic motives. The city was formally placed under the protection of the most holy Theodicus, Mother of God. Tradition suggests that Constantine himself was guided by divine power, or an angel of the Lord, as he traced the extensive boundaries of the new city. Christian historians attribute his choice to a direct vision from God. Constantine's personal vanity and the desire for a site of significant personal importance, perhaps due to its association with his victory, may also have contributed to his decision. The city's inherent beauty and scenic location were additional appealing factors. There's also evidence that Constantine actively sought to assert Christian dominance, notably by requiring non-Christians to finance the city's construction, and by enacting stricter anti-pagan legislation, such as prohibiting idol worship and sacrifices. However, the initial approach to the city's religious character was pragmatic. Existing pagan temples on the Acropolis and elsewhere were not disturbed, and the Capitolium, likely built by Constantine, maintained a clearly pagan character. This apparent contradiction suggests that while Constantine held strong Christian sympathies and a long-term vision for a Christianized empire, his immediate strategy for the new capital's religious identity was gradual and pragmatic, rather than an immediate, radical purge of paganism. His desire for societal stability and to establish an orthodoxy implies that a complete and immediate break with deeply entrenched pagan traditions might have been destabilizing or politically unwise. Therefore, the city's religious identity evolved over time, rather than being fully formed at its inception. This indicates a strategic, rather than purely ideological, application of his religious convictions in the context of state building and population attraction. Category: specific factors supporting snippet IDs. Strategic: crossroads of Europe-Asia, Bosporus Golden Horn control, natural defenses, Danube Eastern frontier defense, military advantages for quick action. Economic: bustling trade hub Silk Road, tax revenue, abundant fish resources, stable currency solidus. Political: shift of power east, fresh start, new imperial residence, dynastic succession replacing tetrarchy, modeled after Rome. Religious: personal, Christian sympathies conversion, divine guidance vision, desire for Christian capital, personal vanity glory, association with victory, scenic beauty. 4. The Grand Inauguration, May 11, 330 AD. Details of the dedication ceremonies and associated festivities. The city, previously known as Byzantium, was formally inaugurated as the new capital of the Roman Empire on May 11, 330 CE. This date is consistently reported across multiple academic sources. The dedication was the culmination of a 40-day festival period, characterized by displays of imperial generosity, the minting of special commemorative coins, and a blend of religious rituals encompassing both Christian and pagan elements. This highlights the transitional and dual nature of the empire's religious landscape during this period. Historical tradition recounts that Constantine himself, purportedly guided by a divine power, or an angel of the Lord, traced the extensive boundaries of the new city with a spear, astonishing his courtiers with its sheer magnitude. This narrative emphasizes the perceived divine sanction and monumental scale of the new capital. The official naming, Nova Roma and Constantinople. Upon its official dedication, Constantine initially named his new imperial capital New Rome, Latin, Nova Roma, Ancient Greek, Nu Epsilon Alpha, letter 1 Fe 5 Omega Mu Eta. This name explicitly linked the nascent city to the venerable old capital, Rome, asserting continuity and a symbolic transfer of legitimacy. He soon after changed the name to Constantinople, Constantinopolis, in his own honor. This personal renaming underscored his role as the city's visionary founder and patron. Other names used during this period included the new Second Rome, Alma Roma, Byzantine Rome, Eastern Rome, and Roma Constantinopolitana. The term New Rome specifically signified its status as the second capital of the Roman Empire, and remarkably remains part of the official title of the Orthodox Ecumenical Patriarch to this day. Early symbolic gestures and the blend of pagan and nascent Christian elements. Constantine's ambition extended to eclipsing the splendor of ancient Rome. To achieve this, he orchestrated the transfer of prestigious art and other ornaments from Rome, Athens, and various other cities for display in the new capital. This was a deliberate act of cultural appropriation and a strategic recentering of imperial grandeur. The column of Constantine Semberlidash, erected in 330 CE at the heart of the Forum of Constantine, served as an honorific monument commemorating the city's foundation. Intriguingly, its summit was initially adorned with a statue of Constantine depicted as Apollo, a pagan sun god, a symbol later replaced by a Christian cross in the 12th century. This specific detail vividly illustrates the transitional religious landscape of the early city, where pagan and Christian symbols coexisted, while Constantinople was formally placed under the protection of the most holy Theotokos, and envisioned by some as a Christian capital. Early evidence points to a pragmatic approach to its religious identity. Existing pagan temples on the Acropolis and elsewhere were left undisturbed, and the Capitolium, likely constructed by Constantine, retained a clearly pagan character. This highlights that the city's Christian character was a gradual process of evolution, not an immediate, fully realized state. The detailed descriptions of the 40-day festivities, the issuing of commemorative coins, and the reported parading of Constantine's statue demonstrate a deliberate and sophisticated use of spectacle, propaganda, and symbolic gestures. Constantine did not merely build a city, he inaugurated it with immense pomp and ceremony, aiming to instantly imbue it with legitimacy, grandeur, and a sense of divine favor. This approach highlights the effective use of soft power, the ability to attract and co-opt through cultural and symbolic means, rather rather than solely relying on decrees or military might. The intentional blend of pagan and Christian symbols, such as the Apollo statue on the column of Constantine later, replaced by a cross, further suggests a strategic attempt to appeal to and unify a broad populace during a period of significant religious transition, rather than an immediate, forceful imposition of a purely Christian identity. This fostered acceptance and buy-in from diverse segments of the empire. The very act of renaming Byzantium multiple times, first Nova Roma, then Constantinople, and modeling it after Rome, while simultaneously moving away from its entrenched pagan traditions, signifies not just a change of capital, but a profound statement of Constantine's personal authority and a deliberate evolution from the old Roman order. The sheer scale and reported speed of the initial construction and the transfer of art from other prestigious cities were all calculated moves meant to immediately establish the new city's preeminence and legitimacy. This asserted a new imperial center that was both Roman in its foundational lineage and Constantinian in its forward-looking vision, signaling a new era for the empire. 5. Building the metropolis, urban planning and infrastructure under Constantine, expansion of Byzantium, and the initial Constantinian walls. Constantine's ambitious project involved a massive expansion of the existing Greek city of Byzantium. He meticulously divided the expanded territory into 14 sections. A key undertaking was the initiation of a new outer wall, famously known as the Constantinian Wall, which was designed to encircle the new city on all sides, providing comprehensive protection against both sea and land attacks. This initial fortification consisted of a single wall, reinforced with towers at regular intervals. Construction commenced in 324 CE and was brought to completion under the reign of his son, Constantius II. This significant expansion effectively tripled the intramural urban space of the former Byzantium. Today, only faint traces of this wall remain, with a section of its foundation notably unearthed during the construction of the Yenikapi Transfer Center. Key urban features: the Mies Forum of Constantine, Great Palace, Hippodrome. The city's urban fabric was meticulously planned around several monumental features. The Mies, which would become Constantinople's main artery, was a grand colonnaded street extending westward from the old city gate. This thoroughfare was not entirely new. It was originally the Via Egnatia, an existing road that was significantly upgraded and transformed into a bustling commercial street with the addition of porticos. Constantine established a circular forum, known as the Forum of Constantine, just outside the old city gate. This forum marked the precise center of the new city and served as a pivotal point along the Mies. At its heart stood the column of Constantine, initially crowned with a statue of Constantine, depicted as Apollo. The city's first Senate house was situated on the north side of this forum. The square was adorned with numerous antique statues, though their exact appearance and placement are now lost to history. The complex comprising the Great Palace and the Hippodrome was strategically situated within the ancient city, forming the new core of imperial authority. The Great Palace, constructed by Emperor Constantine I, served as the primary residence for Eastern Roman and later Byzantine emperors until 1081 CE. A residential wing, the Palace of Daphne, directly connected the palace to the city's renowned Hippodrome, granting emperors easy and secure access to public spectacles. The Hippodrome itself, originally initiated by Septimius Severus, underwent significant expansion under Constantine. It functioned as a grand arena for chariot races and other public events, with an estimated seating capacity of up to 100,000 people. Development of essential services, water supply, and grain provisioning, recognizing the need to sustain a rapidly growing population. Constantine anticipated a substantial increase and made extensive arrangements for grain supply from Egypt, aiming for 80,000 rations, a target that likely exceeded the immediate requirement, but set a precedent for future provisioning. This foresight necessitated the gradual expansion of harbor capacity and granaries to support the burgeoning population. Despite its advantageous strategic location, the city inherently suffered from a limited water supply and few natural resources in terms of readily available water. To counteract this, Constantine ensured access to water through the construction of numerous cisterns, such as the Beinberg cistern, and an extensive network of aqueducts. The aqueduct of Valens, although later repaired and crucial for the city's subsequent rebirth, represented a key component of this artificial water system, designed to compensate for the city's natural deficiencies. Early religious structures and their character, contrary to a widespread belief that Constantinople was conceived as a purely Christian city from its inception. Historical evidence suggests a more complex reality. Existing pagan temples on the Acropolis and elsewhere were not disturbed during Constantine's initial building phase. Furthermore, the Capitolium, which can be attributed to Constantine, maintained a clearly pagan character. Constantine likely constructed no more than 3 churches: St. Irene, which served as the cathedral, and 2 martyria dedicated to local martyrs: St. Akakios, located near the Golden Horn, and St. Mokios, situated in the cemetery area outside the land walls. The prominent Church of the Holy Apostles was notably constructed by Constantius II, Constantine's son, adjacent to Constantine's mausoleum. Urban planners and officials, while Emperor Constantine himself is widely credited with laying out the city and personally overseeing its construction. The available historical accounts do not specifically name individual chief architects or master builders from his era. Later, prominent architects such as Anthemios of Tralles and Isidoros of Maltos are associated with the monumental rebuilding of Hagia Sophia under Justinian. This suggests that Constantine's role was primarily that of the visionary and ultimate director, with the actual execution of the vast building projects likely delegated to unnamed Roman engineers, military personnel, and administrative officials. The office of urban prefect of Constantinople was formally established in 359 CE, with Honoratus being the first to hold this position, whose authority mirrored that of the urban prefect of Rome. Prior to 359, the city was overseen by proconsuls of Constantinople. These officials would have played an instrumental role in overseeing various aspects of urban administration, public works, and daily life. The city's urban morphology between the 4th and 6th centuries suggests a sense of saturation, indicating that most of its foundational infrastructure needs and main ecclesiastical monuments were largely realized during this intensive early period. While Constantine's vision for Constantinople was undeniably grand and transformative, the city's urban planning was not a completely blank slate or a single, rigidly consistent grid imposed from above. The explicit mention of utilizing existing roads like the Via Egnatia, Mies, as a foundational element, and the staged development of new, separate quarters, rather than an immediate, comprehensive plan for the entire vast area, points to a pragmatic and adaptive approach. This suggests that even an instant city like Constantinople, driven by immense imperial will and resources, still evolved with a degree of organic adaptation, integrating existing infrastructure with new monumental additions. This highlights the practical constraints and adaptive strategies inherent in large-scale urban development, even under autocratic rule, demonstrating that cities often grow through a blend of deliberate planning and organic expansion. Despite the impressive defensive walls constructed by Constantine and his successors, and the city's inherently strategic location, historical accounts also reveal critical underlying vulnerabilities. Specifically, the city lacked natural barriers on the landward side, a weakness that became apparent within 50 years of its founding and remained a constant threat throughout its history. Furthermore, while Constantine made arrangements for a massive grain supply from Egypt, the city's reliance on this external source for 80,000 rations made it dependent on a complex and potentially vulnerable provisioning system. These logistical and geographical fragilities would persist throughout Constantinople's history, making it susceptible to sieges and blockades, a fact tragically proven by its eventual fall in 1453. This demonstrates that even monumental achievements in urban planning and defense could not eliminate all inherent risks, and that the city's very success, particularly its rapid population growth, simultaneously created new challenges. 6. The birth of an empire. Constantinople's immediate impact and evolution. The city's role in the evolving Roman Empire and the Constantinian shift Constantine's reign marked a distinct epoch in the history of the Roman Empire. His momentous decision to relocate the capital and his groundbreaking legalization of Christianity initiated a profound transformation, a period often referred to as the Constantinian shift. He enacted numerous administrative, financial, social, and military reforms aimed at strengthening the empire. This included a significant restructuring of the government, separating civil and military authorities, and stabilizing the economy through the introduction of the gold, solidus. These comprehensive reforms contributed to a period of remarkable stability and prosperity. Constantine also established a crucial precedent for the emperor's influential role and ultimate regulatory authority within the religious discussions of the early Christian councils, consistently favoring the establishment of orthodoxy, laying the foundational groundwork for the Eastern Roman Byzantine Empire. Establishment of Constantinople laid the foundational groundwork for what would eventually evolve into the Byzantine Empire. While Constantine did not explicitly intend to create a separate empire, his actions inexorably led to a permanent division between the Eastern and Western, the Greek and the Latin halves of the empire. This transition heralded the beginning of a new era where the eastern part of the empire began to assert its distinct political and cultural distinctiveness. Constantinople rapidly became the base of the Eastern Roman Empire, and its imperial capital from Constantine's time, effectively serving as New Rome for over 1,000 years of the Byzantine Empire's existence. The city quickly developed into a cultural melting pot and the preeminent center of art and Christianity during the Middle Ages. The increasing prominence of Greek culture and language in administration and daily life further underscored this cultural evolution, distinguishing it from its Latin-speaking Western counterpart. Contributions of Constantine's immediate successors. While Constantine laid the initial foundations, his son, Constantius II, R. 337-361, and subsequent emperors were indispensable in developing the city into the splendor for which it would later be renowned. Constantius II notably completed Constantine's initial walls, expanded the governmental bureaucracy, and oversaw the construction of additional cisterns and grain silos. He is also credited with building the first Hagia Sophia in 360 CE, although this structure would later be destroyed and rebuilt. Furthermore, he constructed the Church of the Holy Apostles adjacent to Constantine's mausoleum. Constantius II also successfully consolidated power within the Constantinian dynasty through strategic purges and the defeat of usurpers. Theodosius, IR 379-395, made a monumental contribution by helping to establish the Nicene Creed with the First Council of Constantinople in 381 CE, thereby solidifying the city's Christian identity and its growing influence within the Christian world. His grandson, Theodosius II, R. 400–450, rebuilt Hagia Sophia after a fire, established a university, and fearing a barbarian threat, significantly expanded the city's defenses by constructing the famous double line of the Theodosian walls around 413 CE. These formidable walls represented a major defensive upgrade and effectively replaced Constantine's earlier walls as the city's primary defense. While the founding of Constantinople is widely recognized as having inaugurated a permanent division between the Eastern and Western Roman empires, historical accounts also consistently emphasize that the term Byzantine Empire was a later scholarly construct. Crucially, the citizens of Constantinople continued to identify themselves as Romans and their empire as the Roman Empire for over a millennium. This suggests that the division was not an immediate, conscious, or formal split at the time of Constantine, but rather a gradual process of cultural, linguistic, from Latin to Greek, and administrative divergence that Constantine's actions set in motion. The empire remained Roman in its self-perception and legal continuity for centuries, even as its geographical center, dominant language, and religious orientation shifted. This highlights the fluidity and long gestation period of major historical transformations, where the perception of a break often arises retrospectively from historians rather than being a clear contemporary event. Constantine's vision for Constantinople was so grand and ambitious that it could not be fully realized or completed within his own lifetime. The historical records explicitly state that his initial walls were completed by his son, Constantius II, and that subsequent emperors like Theodosius II undertook monumental projects such as the vastly more extensive Theodosian walls and the rebuilding of key religious structures like Hagia Sophia. This demonstrates that Constantinople was not a singular achievement, but an ongoing, intergenerational imperial project requiring sustained commitment, significant financial investment, and continuous development from successive rulers. It underscores the long-term strategic thinking embedded within the Roman Byzantine state and the remarkable continuity of imperial ambition and dedication to the capital across multiple generations, transcending individual reigns. The city's enduring success was a collective imperial endeavor. Date, event development, significance, supporting snippet IDs, 657 BCE, founding of Byzantium, establishes pre-Constantinian strategic site, 324 CE, Constantine becomes sole emperor, leads to new capital decision, beginning of Constantinian shift, Nov 8, 324 CE, consecration of new site, marks formal beginning of construction for the new capital, May 11, 330 CE, formal dedication of Constantinople, Nova Roma, formalizes new capital and imperial shift, marks birth of Byzantine Empire, 330 7 CE. Constantine's death marks transition to successors. End of initial founding phase. 359 CE. Office of Urban Prefect created. Establishes key administrative role for city governance. 360 CE. First Hagia Sophia built by Constantius II. Early Christian landmark in the new capital. 381 CE. First Council of Constantinople Theodosius I. Defines Christian orthodoxy. Solidifies cities' religious influence. C. 413 CE. Theodosian walls completed. Theodosius II. Fortifies city for centuries. Replaces Constantinian walls as primary defense. 7. An enduring legacy. Constantinople as the heart of Byzantium. Constantinople's long-term significance as a cultural, economic, and religious center. For over 1,000 years, Constantinople served as the capital of the Byzantine Empire, effectively functioning as New Rome. Its extraordinary longevity was unparalleled in the medieval world. Culturally, it was a vibrant melting pot and a dynamic center of art, learning, and crucially, the preservation of ancient Greek and Roman texts throughout the Middle Ages, a period when much of this knowledge was lost or inaccessible in Western Europe. Its distinctive architecture, exemplified by iconic structures like the Hagia Sophia, though built later by Justinian I, reflected a unique synthesis of Roman roots, early Christian designs, and innovative Byzantine elements. Economically, the city's strategic location on the Bosporus ensured its status as an extremely wealthy city and a critical hub for merchants and traders. Its control over the strait allowed it to levy taxes on shipping between the Black and Mediterranean seas, and its position on the Silk Road made it an indispensable center for east-west trade, facilitating the passage of goods such as silk, spices, and precious metals. This immense economic prosperity contributed significantly to the Byzantine Empire's enduring power and influence. Religiously, founded by the first Christian emperor, Constantinople rapidly became one of the most important cities of Christianity. It evolved into the preeminent center of the Eastern Orthodox world following the East-West Schism in 1054 CE, holding religious significance comparable to Rome and Jerusalem. By the 5th century CE, it was widely considered a holy city, with emperors actively promoting a spiritual aura around it. Militarily, the city's formidable defenses, particularly the multi-layered Theodosian walls, enabled it to withstand numerous sieges for centuries, acting as a powerful defense for Christian Europe against Muslim invasion, and a crucial barrier against various other threats. Scholarly interpretations and debates on the continuity vs break between the Roman and Byzantine empires. Modern historians frequently distinguish the Byzantine Empire from the earlier Latin-speaking Roman Empire, emphasizing its shift towards Greek culture and Orthodox Christianity. The term Byzantine Empire itself was not adopted until well after its fall. However, the citizens of Constantinople consistently referred to themselves as Romans and their empire as the Roman Empire until its final collapse in 1453. This self-perception highlights a powerful and deeply ingrained sense of continuity. Scholars engage in ongoing debate regarding whether Constantine's reign marked a definitive continuation or a fundamental break with the Roman Empire. While significant changes certainly occurred, a new capital, an official religion, and a shift in official language, many Roman systems of governance, law, and cultural aspects were initially maintained. Some scholars argue that the Roman Empire simply continued its existence in the East, with no fundamental transmutation of the imperial office. Others acknowledge the obvious transformations, but frame them within a continuous Roman imperial context. The permanent division was a long and gradual process, not an immediate, singular event, which underscores the fluidity of historical transitions. The consistent self-identification of the Byzantine people as Romans for over a millennium, despite significant cultural, linguistic, and religious shifts, offers a profound understanding of the power of historical legacy and collective identity. This was not merely a nominal title. It was a deeply ingrained claim to legitimacy, a connection to a glorious past, and a powerful unifying narrative for the empire. This soft power of shared identity, rooted in the Roman tradition, was arguably as crucial to its extraordinary longevity as its formidable military and economic strength. It demonstrates how deeply held historical narratives and self-perception can shape geopolitical realities, foster resilience, and maintain cohesion over centuries, even in the face of profound internal and external changes. Long-term consequences beyond the empire's fall. Even after its fall to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, Constantinople's legacy continued to shape Europe in profound ways. The migration of Byzantine Greek scholars and the vast amount of ancient Greek literature they brought with them to Western Europe significantly contributed to the intellectual ferment of the Renaissance. This knowledge diffusion from the Greeks to the local population, particularly in fields like astronomy, mathematics, and medicine, where Byzantine scholars had made remarkable advancements, directly spurred human capital accumulation and economic growth in early modern Europe. Historical analysis indicates that cities, which became destinations for these Greek migrants, experienced considerably faster growth in the 16th century. This highlights Constantinople's crucial role, not just as an imperial capital, but as a civilizational arc during the European Middle Ages. While Western Europe experienced a period of intellectual decline and loss of classical knowledge, Constantinople served as a vital repository of Greek and Roman intellectual and cultural heritage. Its enduring existence, even as the Western Roman Empire collapsed, meant it safeguarded a vast body of knowledge that was largely lost or inaccessible in the West. The eventual dispersal of this knowledge, facilitated by the city's fall, directly fueled a resurgence of learning and innovation in Europe centuries later. This elevates Constantinople's significance beyond a mere political capital to a crucial, if often overlooked, link in the chain of Western intellectual and scientific development. 8. Conclusion. A testament to imperial vision. The founding of Constantinople by Emperor Constantine the Great was far more than the establishment of a new city. It was a transformative act that profoundly reshaped the Roman Empire, and by extension, the course of global history. Driven by a complex and calculated interplay of strategic necessity, economic opportunity, political ambition, and evolving religious conviction, Constantine's vision created a new imperial center destined to endure for over a millennium. From its unparalleled strategic location that facilitated immense trade and defense, to its role as a beacon of Christian faith and a preserver of classical learning, Constantinople became a unique synthesis of Roman tradition and Eastern innovation. Its establishment laid the indelible foundations for the Byzantine Empire, a civilization that maintained Roman continuity while forging its own distinct identity, influencing governance, religion, and culture across Europe and the Middle East for centuries. The city's 1700-year saga, from its ancient roots as Byzantine to its monumental transformation into Constantinople, and its eventual evolution into Istanbul, stands as a powerful testament to the enduring impact of imperial vision on the human landscape and the intricate, often paradoxical, nature of historical change.